There's something you were supposed to do today. Maybe it's still sitting in a browser tab. Maybe it's been there for a week. Maybe you're watching this instead of doing it. You've called yourself lazy for it, maybe 100 times, maybe 1,000, maybe today. But here's the thing. In a meta-analysis of 691 studies on procrastination, the word laziness did not appear as a predictor. Not once, not weekly, not at all. What you've been calling laziness for 20 years is something else entirely. Something with a specific cause, a specific cost, and a specific reason it gets worse the harder you try to fix it. The answer changes how you understand discipline, your future self, and the quiet daily war you've been losing to yourself. The word procrastinate is older than you'd guess. It comes from Latin. It's the combination of the word pro, meaning forward, and crastinus, meaning belonging to tomorrow. To procrastinate, literally, is to push something into the property of a person who does not yet exist. The Roman senator Cicero used the word in 44 BC, complaining in a public speech about a colleague who kept delaying urgent decisions. The Greek poet Hesiod warned against it 7 centuries earlier. Do not put your work off till tomorrow and the day after. This is not a modern problem. This is not a problem caused by smartphones or capitalism or your generation. People have been doing this and feeling terrible about it for at least 2,700 years. But for almost all of that history, we have been wrong about what it is. In 2007, a psychologist at the University of Calgary named Piers Steele published the largest meta-analysis ever conducted on procrastination. 691 separate correlations, pulled from decades of research, aimed at a single question: what actually predicts who procrastinates? The results destroyed the laziness theory. Neuroticism, weak predictor. Rebelliousness, weak predictor. Sensation-seeking, weak predictor. Being a bad person, morally lazy, undisciplined in character, did not appear at all. What did predict procrastination, strongly and consistently, were 4 things. Task aversiveness, how unpleasant the task feels. Low self-efficacy, your belief that you'll do it badly. Impulsiveness, preference for immediate reward over delayed reward. And temporal delay, the further away the deadline, the more you discount it. 4 variables, none of them moral. Procrastination isn't a character defect. It's an equation, and the equation has nothing to do with laziness. 6 years after Steele's meta-analysis, 2 Canadian psychologists, Fushia Siros and Timothy Peichel, looked at the same data and asked a different question. Not what predicts procrastination, but what is it actually for? Their answer reframed the entire field. Procrastination, they argued, is not a time management problem. It is not a planning problem. It is not a willpower problem. It is a feeling problem. When you avoid a task, you are not avoiding the task. You are avoiding what the task makes you feel. The boredom, the dread, the whisper of "I might not be good enough," the faint nausea behind your sternum the moment you think about opening it. And here's the part that breaks people. It works. For about 10 minutes, when you close the document and open a new tab, the bad feeling dips, cortisol decreases, heart rate slows slightly. The relief is real. Your brain in that moment has just successfully performed an emotion regulation strategy. This is not a malfunction. This is your brain doing exactly what it evolved to do, keeping you away from things that hurt. The catch is that the thing that hurts and your future are now the same thing. This is why willpower doesn't work. Willpower is asking you to override a system that is currently making you feel better. You cannot discipline your way out of an emotion regulation strategy. You can only replace it. But before we get to replacement, there's a deeper layer. Because this still doesn't explain why you keep agreeing to do it tomorrow, knowing perfectly well that tomorrow you isn't going to do it either. In 2009, 3 researchers at Stanford put a group of volunteers into a brain scanner. They asked each subject to think about their present self, then about a stranger, then about themselves in 10 years. They watched what lit up. When the subjects thought about their present self, a specific region of the brain, the medial prefrontal cortex, the area associated with self-reference, activated reliably. When they thought about a stranger, that same region went quiet. When they thought about themselves in 10 years, the activation pattern was closer to the stranger than to themselves. Read that again. Your brain treats your future self more like a stranger than like you? A week after the scan, the researchers gave each subject a financial decision task, smaller amount now or larger amount later. The subjects whose brains had shown the least overlap between present self and future self were the ones who most heavily took the money now. The less your brain recognizes future you, the more you take from him. A follow-up study in 2024 out of Southwest University in China connected this directly to procrastination. Stronger neural connectivity between the future self regions of the brain predicted less procrastination. People whose brains felt continuous with their own future put things off less, which means every time you said, "I'll do it tomorrow," you weren't making a deal with yourself. You were handing the bill to someone your brain had never properly met, and then getting faintly annoyed when he didn't show up. This is also, by the way, why deadlines work. A deadline collapses temporal distance. Future you suddenly becomes near you. The stranger gets a face, and the moment the stranger gets a face, the task gets done. Here's where it gets uncomfortable, because most of us have a default response when we catch ourselves procrastinating. We yell at ourselves. Just start. What is wrong with you? You're pathetic. Other people don't do this. Other people presumably have ironed shirts in their wardrobes right now. We have been told our whole lives that this kind of harshness is what makes people disciplined, that if you're soft on yourself, you'll let yourself off the hook. In 2014, Fushia Siros ran 4 separate studies to test that exact assumption. Hundreds of participants. The hypothesis: people who treat themselves kindly when they slip, what psychologists call self-compassion, should procrastinate more because they're letting themselves off the hook. The data showed the exact opposite. In every sample, higher self-compassion predicted less procrastination, lower self-compassion predicted more, and self-compassion mediated the entire stress-procrastination relationship, meaning the harshness wasn't just neutral. It was the active ingredient in keeping the procrastination going. Think about why this would be, mechanically. If procrastination is an emotion regulation response to a task that feels bad, then every time you yell at yourself for procrastinating, you are making the task feel worse. You've added shame on top of the original dread. The next time you go to open the document, it's heavier. The avoidance pays off more. The cycle tightens. The voice in your head telling you you're lazy is not motivating you. It is the engine of the procrastination. This finding has been replicated several times. It is one of the clearest results in the field, and it remains one of the least believed because it sounds like permission, and we are deeply attached to the idea that the cure for sloth is severity. It isn't. The cure for sloth, statistically, is the thing you assumed would make sloth worse. There is a phenomenon in psychology called the Zeigarnik effect, discovered in 1927 by a Russian psychologist named Bluma Zeigarnik, who noticed that waiters in a Berlin cafe could remember unpaid orders in perfect detail, but forgot them the instant the bill was paid. Unfinished tasks haunt the mind. Finished ones disappear. This is why the thing you've been putting off has been louder in your head than anything you've actually finished today. Not because you're broken, because your brain is doing exactly what it's supposed to do, keeping the unfinished thing in active memory until it is done. The document you haven't started is sitting in there right now, taking up space, generating that low background hum of dread that has followed you through your day, into this video, into this sentence. You've been calling that dread laziness. It isn't. It is your nervous system trying to protect you from a feeling. It is your brain handing the bill to a stranger it doesn't recognize. It is a system that worked beautifully when tomorrow meant tomorrow's hunt, and works less well when tomorrow means an email you don't want to send. and the voice in your head telling you to just get it done. What is wrong with you? That voice is not your discipline. It is the thing standing between you and the work. For 2,700 years since Hesiod first wrote it down, humans have been beating themselves up for procrastinating. And for 2,700 years, that strategy has not worked. We have called it laziness. We have called it a moral failing. We have called it a character defect. It is none of those things. It is your body doing what bodies do, sending the bill to someone you've never properly met. And the only way out is to stop calling him a stranger.